Kevin Quigley. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Thailand 1976 to 1979. What's different about Peace Corps? One of the things that is clearly different about Peace Corps is the length of service, that it's 2 years, and how we get integrated into the community, and that our learning of the local languages and learning of the local practices and culture and traditions and being respectful of them, and that changes us. And many of us say that we get much more than we give. But really what is truly remarkable about the Peace Corps experience is that getting, really, it enriches our life. It's not a getting just for that 2-year period, but it's for our entire lifetime. And just a quick story to illustrate that after my Peace Corps service, I was asked to help train 2 groups of volunteers. So I'd been in Thailand for about 3.5 years, and in Ireland just before that for about a year. So I had been out of the country for almost 5 years. And I think many of us anticipate that we have to change and adjust when we go into Peace Corps, but we underestimate how much we have to adjust when we come back home, because our country moves so quickly, people move on, and we're just in a very different place, and our world is different because of the Peace Corps experience. And like many returned Peace Corps volunteers, I think about 40% of us end up going immediately into a graduate school program, and that's what I did. And I went to one in New York City thinking that New York City was still a foreign country. My family was close by, and I thought it would be an easy place to make the adjustment. And my first day in class, I walk in and I sit down and I notice that there is an Asian woman sitting in front of me, and she's kind of writing studiously in some document, and I looked around her shoulder and I saw she was writing in Thai. And maybe being a bit of a show-off, I read it out loud. And this just blew this woman's mind, that here she's sitting in New York in the classroom on the Upper West Side, and somebody in her classroom is reading over her shoulder a note that she's writing in her own language. Again, the 2 degrees of separation. But that woman named Kun Pontip Kanjananayot has become a lifelong friend, and she now directs the Fulbright program in Thailand. And the Fulbright program has just celebrated its 60-year anniversary in Thailand, and Kun Pontip some years ago asked if I'd apply to be a Fulbrighter, and I was very lucky to be a Fulbrighter. And I was a Fulbrighter in the same town where I was a Peace Corps volunteer in my 2nd year. And my counterpart, a woman named Kun Patria, was the daughter of the chairman of the English department I taught with at the Teachers College 30 years prior. And I had only met her once. I never met her dad, because her dad had passed away the year before I arrived at Ubon Teachers College. But I met Pataria at her father's funeral, because the Thais, like many other people, they don't have their funeral until an auspicious day, a time when the whole family can gather. And this was a year or so after her father's death. And she remembered meeting me because there weren't a lot of people who looked like me at her father's funeral. So we met briefly on that sad day for her, and she now is the vice president at a university that didn't even exist when I was in Ubon, called Ubon University, that now has 15,000 students and has students from not only the northeast of Thailand, but also from Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos. And she was my counterpart, my host when I was a Fulbrighter, and my friends who I've stayed in touch with throughout my lifetime knew Kun Patria since she was a baby, and her father used to ride to the Ubon Teachers College on his bicycle, and she would sit in the basket on the front. So what's distinctive about Peace Corps is that we have these connections that are broad and very deep in places where we served, and they enrich our lives.
Very, very well said. Yes, very. Thank you.
So I've told you enough stories, or?
Oh, you got
any
go
more?
for it.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, you know, it's dangerous getting us on a story.
One more, because I'm jumping.
Okay, one more story. Let's see. Yeah, I'll tell a story directly as related to my Peace Corps experience, and I don't often tell it. And this is a story that I mentioned that when I applied to Peace Corps, I put down Thailand 1, 2, and 3, and that was in large part because as an undergraduate, one of my minors was Asian religions, and I studied with a man named Don Swearer, who was an authority on Theravada Buddhism, which is the Orthodox Buddhist tradition, and it's the Buddhism of Southeast Asia. And I really wanted to live in a Buddhist country, and because I knew enough to know that I thought I knew a lot about books, but I did know that I really didn't know anything about Buddhism because I'd never been in a Buddhist country, and I don't think I knew any Buddhists, but I'd read a lot of books about it and thought I knew something. Don Swearer has had a lifelong connection with Thailand, and he inspired me and a number of his other students to go to Thailand because of their rich tradition of the Theravada Buddhism, and particularly the forest monk tradition in Thailand. And Don had translated the works of a very famous Thai monk called Buddhadasa Bhikkhu, who created a place in the south of Thailand called Suan Mok, which means the Garden of Freedom. And this monk, Buddhadasa Bhikkhu, inspired a whole generation of Thais, particularly Thai young people, much the way I think that President Kennedy here at the University of Michigan inspired the students here and across the country to serve. Buddhadasa Bhikkhu inspired a cohort of young Thai people in the early 70s to be much more passionate about their religion and to be social activists. As a teacher in Thailand, we had summer assignments, and I think I was one of the few, if at least up to that time, maybe the first serving volunteer to become a Buddhist monk as my summer teaching assignment, and I thought this was just a great assignment. I appreciated the flexibility on the part of Peace Corps to allow me to become a monk during my summer, and this really just gave me some great insights into Thailand and its culture and its people and its beliefs, and I think it also changed my relationships with lots of Thais. I mentioned I don't often talk about it, but the fact that when people learn that I had spent time in this particular temple in the northeast of Thailand and that I had been ordained as a Buddhist monk, they immediately understood that I had a very special appreciation, concern, interest in a core part of their culture, in their religion. And I felt like that really, it opened my eyes, and it opened windows and doors into relationships that may have taken me a lot longer otherwise. And I think that really enhanced my whole experience as a Peace Corps volunteer, the fact that part of that I could do as a Buddhist monk. That experience as a Peace Corps volunteer, particularly as a the short time where I was a Buddhist monk for 40 days, that has kind of changed my worldview, and like a lot of volunteers, that experience and the relationships that have come out of it have enriched my life immeasurably. And probably like all of us, I could tell you stories for another hours, but why don't I stop there and save those stories for some other time? Yeah.